I do. All these guys we have a good staff, and I'm sure some opportunities will come up for some of the guys, and we'll deal with those as they come.
Well, that's how Vic Fangio felt at the time, right at the end of the season, when he said he believed all of his coaches would be back. But then Pat Shurmer became available when he was fired as head coach of the Giants, and the Broncos, Fangio moved quickly, firing Rich Scangarello and set to bring aboard Shurmer as his offensive coordinator. Marking a lot of questions about, just what kind of philosophy does Shurmer have? Is this just going to be an old school, 3 yards and a cloud of dust offense? Actually, Shurmer is a guy that likes to open it up. He likes to have his quarterback in shotgun. He likes to go with 3 wide receivers most of the time. And the ball goes down the field more than the average NFL team. So what are your impressions of Shurmer as a play caller?
Yeah, well, I think obviously he's been a play caller for a long time. He's had some good offenses that he's coordinated, going back to his Philly days. He's got the Cleveland experiment where he was, that failed, but everybody's failed in Cleveland, so you can't hold that against him. I just look at it. Remember, Gary Kubiak isn't here because he didn't call enough RPOs. So, I'll go in as a skeptic to a degree, but I think Pat Shurmer's a good football coach. I don't think there's any question. Again, I don't care what offense you call. I really don't. People are like, it'll be boring if we don't push it down the field. It doesn't matter what you call. If you don't have the horses to execute it, it won't work. So, I'm just looking for, hey, Pat Shurmer, great. I'm sure Pat Shurmer's going to be awesome. Remember, the Giants were 4-12, and their offense wasn't a whole lot better than our offense.
Yeah,
okay?
the Giants' offense, the 2 years that Shurmer was the head coach / play caller, 16th in points in 2018, 18th. They regressed, 18th in points last year. Next on the Morning Brew.
Of Mahomes, who sprints out to the left side. He's holding it. He's going to try to hold it. Throws it late. And is it caught it's caught! Touchdown! Kansas City! The Chiefs take the lead. And Kelsey gargling in the sweet nectar of the end zone.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Gargling in the sweet nectar of the end zone?
Yeah.
How long did you work on that?
Yeah, that...
Showtime!
No. Even Joe Test is sitting back going, ooh.
Oh,
That's
yeah, that was a gross description.
Was not how I would do it. Have you ever seen?
No, I haven't. Listen. I was when it was 24-0. I was so happy. I was literally like, "Oh my gosh, this will be the greatest! Tomorrow will be the greatest day ever on radio." At this point, Wrinkles hadn't been fired. And I'm thinking, we're just going to absolutely roast and lambaste Kansas City fan. They kept flashing to the crowd, and the crowd was just like befuddled, completely stunned. And I thought it was going to be the greatest thing ever. And then, some of the calls, like the fact, the 4th down and 1 call.
You got to go for the touchdown, or at least the 4th down. It was fourth and a half a yard.
I disagree. I thought you should have kicked the field goal there and then pound the ball deep and make Kansas City, make them go 80 yards. Play like again. The whole thing. I understand how
the fake punt. You agree with the fake punt?
No, absolutely not. I don't agree with the fake punt on your own 30 whatever yard line. You're up 24-7? No. I get that they're a dynamic group and maybe you play conservative and maybe you end up losing 38-31. I just am like, the first time you guys met, by the way, you rushed and you beat them in Kansas City. You rushed it for like 191 yards. Like, you're up 24-0. That's the time to work on what's our scheme runs? What's our base run? How can we get into heavy and just absolutely thunder punch these guys in the throat and eat up clock and keep Mahomes on the sideline? Like, that's you may have lost. You still may have lost, Mike. But going, hey, here's an opportunity to return at 70 yards. Hey, here's a short field for quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Go ahead, guys. Just go ahead and spank us. I like it makes that stuff makes no sense to me. I thought it was a horrible, just a horrible train of thought by Bill O'Brien and the Houston Texans.
Spank. Oh, behave.
Oh, behave.
Next, it'll be Tennessee at Kansas City for the AFC Championship game. Next on the Morning Brew.
Cousins back, throws out right, intercepted by Richard Sherman, and Sherman will take it back inside the 30-yard line, dropped on the Minnesota 28-yard line. Your best players are playing their best right now.
Whew. 49ers looked strong as they got some guys back to that defense, and that defense all of a sudden looked like that same defense that we saw earlier in the season with that snarl, with that bite. How impressed were you by the 49ers, and do you give Green Bay much of a shot next week?
Oh, hey, did you watch some of the throws Aaron
Rodgers
made?
was dealing.
I mean, you got 12, you got a shot. Devontae Adams, who's had a turf toe, he's missed time. He's gotten back healthy, or at least looks healthy. Nobody on Seattle could cover him. He was amazing. Absolutely, and you got the Smith brothers with Preston and Za'Darius. I mean, those guys are great. One of the things I loved, and I loved what Nick Bosa said after the game in the post-game press conference. On the field there, they asked Nick Bosa a question, and he basically said, and I know it comes from Robert Saleh, their defensive coordinator, but he said, "Hey, listen, we earn the right to rush the passer because we stop the run." And when you have that mentality, like the mentality, a lot of the Rams, and one of the reasons that Wade Phillips is no longer working is they try to play the run on the way to the quarterback, right? They always give themselves the right to rush the passer. They rush the passer 100% of the time. And the Niners are like, listen, this is how we play. We've been coached this way. You earn the right to rush the passer when you physically dominate the line of scrimmage and you stop the run. And I think what did Dalvin Cook have? I mean, he ran roughshod through the Saints in the first half last week. I think he had 18 yards rushing or something like that. I mean, it was a dominant performance.
Next on the Morning Brew.
Great response tonight. Got great contribution from the bench. I'll give Gary and Jamal a lot of credit. I don't even think they're going to play tonight. Both battling their own different injuries, and for them to go out there and even try to play, Jamal was able to get through the game. Gary wasn't. Testament to how important this team is and how much they're willing to sacrifice.
All right, there's Nuggets coach Michael Malone. How do you explain a weekend in which the Nuggets at home on one night lose to the sad sack Cavaliers, but then turn around and beat a title-contending team in the Clippers? How do you explain it?
Yeah, you explain it because you took a mental break. And, hey, listen, I mean, it's not any different than the NFL. Every team's got talent. Every team's got players. They can always beat you if you take a weekend off, i.e. the Houston Texans when they faced the Broncos after they beat the New England Patriots, right? Ooh, exhale, and you get run. I mean, that's all there is to that.
Well, they've had an annoying habit of underachieving, playing down to their competition, but then playing up to their competition. That's for a team that has designs on going to the Western Conference Finals, that's not the worst thing, that you play up to your competition. That's what you'll be doing come playoff time. But in this ultra-competitive Western Conference where home court could make such a huge deal, these losses against teams like the Wizards and the Cavaliers, they can be very damaging. When they lost to the Cavaliers, they dropped from 2nd to 5th in the Western Conference. Winning last night, they went back up to 2nd. So that's the good news, but you realize how tight it is and how these losses, these head-scratching losses, could really come back and bite you at the end. So they've got to find a way to develop a little bit more of a killer instinct when they're playing these bad teams. But they beat the Clippers yesterday, so all is good for now. That'll do it for the Morning Brew. Bring that to you each and every morning at 6:30.